Hello, and welcome to Three Things. Tonight's guest has worked for Fox Sports Southwest, Fox Sports San Diego, Comcast Sportsnet Houston, MLB Network, Comcast Sportsnet Philadelphia, and NBC Sports Chicago. She holds her own with the likes of Frank Thomas, Dave Kaplan, Bill Melton, and Ozzie Guillen, and Chuck Trilock. As an Iranian-American Texan woman in sports, she's a trailblazer in the truest sense of the word. She was really, really nice to me at SoxFest and reminded me that the camera shot was from the shoulders up. Plus, she also pretended to understand what Aussie Sox fan, a.k.a. Jason Hosking, was saying during his interview. Guess Ozzie got her ready for that experience. Eric Clapton wrote a song about her, and for God's sakes, people, please stop asking her about her escape from Scientology. She got out. Just be happy for her. Please, welcome Leila Rahimi.
That's the best intro I've ever had. Ever.
I take pride in my intros, and one of our guys is like, hey, who's introing Leila tonight? And I said, I'm doing it. He's like, thank God. And I was like, yeah, I know. Now,
you just give yourself a little pat on the back there, my Sox. You deserve it, though. You're very good at that. You're very good at our ad reads. You're a specialist there.
Yeah, that's professional.
I was worried that because I brought up the Scientology thing, I was gonna say the wrong name. And like normally when I take my edibles like later in the day, like I probably could have screwed it up, but because I took them earlier in the day, I'm not high right now, or as high as I usually am. So it was good. It worked out really well.
My Sox Summer is someone who continuously messed up Lawrence Holmes and Herb Lawrence all night.
Yes!
I appreciate that you got that right. I'm happy for you that you nailed that.
Are you, Chris, referring to the epic night at Reggie's after SoxFest?
Yes. And so I was doing all the intros on the panel when the second panel. So the first panel is like so I give you a quick story about this because it's kind of funny. So
yes, and you know I missed it, and I heard all about it from everybody. I have massive FOMO about this.
So the first panel is always like the Josh Nelson from Sox Machine puts together the first panel, and it's always like very professional. They get like James Fegan and they had Lawrence Holmes for this and a few other people, and Lawrence was like had to cancel, and then he called
Super Bowl
because he was going to Super Bowl. Then that got canceled.
I think he was graduating, wasn't he?
It got like pushed a day. It was like a storm or something that pushed it like a day. And he didn't go down to the Super Bowl that day. So he messaged Josh and he's like, hey, I can make it now. And so he's on his way up and we're getting things going. And Josh is like, well, I gotta start the panel. And I was like, all right, I'll keep an eye out for Lawrence. And when he comes in, I'll, bring him up to the front and he can join the panel whenever he gets there. So it's about 5 minutes into their panel, plenty of time to go up there. And Lawrence comes in and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I can get you up there right now. And he's like, no, I'll just be on your panel. And I was like, so we have like the drunk panel, like where it's just a bunch of maniacs. And so of course we had Herbie on there, but and I'm like, oh, okay. So now I have to like reassess what I'm gonna say and everything. And I butchered like Herb and Lawrence back and forth, and to the point where I was introducing Herbie and I started to say Lawrence Holmes and Lawrence just cut me off and introduced Herb.
Yes, he did.
And it was the nicest thing Lawrence Holmes has ever done for me.
First of all, it happens. It just does. Especially like for me, and you'll notice this whenever the Sox play a team that I used to cover on a regular basis, I will interchange the names. It just happens. So I'm sorry that you feel so guilty about it, but speaking from do we call it professional standpoint, I guess?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely
you can do what you do.
But you know what I'm saying? Like it's a much more common thing than what you're making it out to be. Like I'm sure at the time, especially after a very long day of fun at SoxFest, and then a very eventful night at Reggie's. It must have been giving you some anxiety, but
well, that day it didn't give me any.
But speaking from experience, like it's never as bad as you think it is. It's just not.
Well,
That's true. That is true, and because we get routinely drunk during podcasts and shows like this, and then I'm always like, oh God, that must have been really horrible. And then I listen back, I'm like, it wasn't even that bad. What did you even say? You didn't say anything. Like we had Dave like 2 weeks ago, White Sox Dave, and I was like, oh my God, me and Dave were just like just towing the line of getting canceled here in this new society that we're in. And I listened back and it's no big deal. We didn't even talk like all that controversial, really.
My favorite thing about that interview, though, was every time Dave would address us, he would say, and what about you four? What do you think? Because he was counting himself for some reason in the you four. I don't know. It was impressive.
It works. That's how professionals do it, Treasy. Right? We don't know about that because we're amateurs. We don't have
That's true. That's true.
I love all of this.
Now, Leila, I appreciate you making Treasy feel better about screwing that up, but I reserve the right to make fun of him at any point in time for doing that in the future, just because of brothers. I will not let that go ever.
Beef loaf, I would not expect anything less.
Thank you.
That's the beef loaf way. So Leila, before we did this, I've been going and listening to reading interviews. I have listened to the House of L podcast with you and Lawrence Holmes like twice. And I just want to say this. It's like, it's a great episode. I mean, to listen to it twice, for me to listen to anything twice, other than like a song by Meg Thee Stallion, it's pretty amazing. But like this is, I liked it, and it was like it brought up some things that I didn't really think about. And so when I was perusing the internet here last night to get some, get stuff ready and just make a good intro, I am still seeing I look at like articles and then I see the comments and I'm like, God, I gain more and more like respect for any female that goes into the sporting world, because people are freaking terrible. And they are just mean, and it's just not nice stuff. And I have a lot more respect for females that are in the sporting world here. And it's, you guys get so much, or you girls get so much unfair criticism doing the same job, as a dumb guy like White Sox Dave does. Even though White Sox Dave gets a lot of unfair criticism too, but because of the Barstool thing. But it's just I don't know. I applaud you for sticking out through all of these stories that I've heard and read, and continuing to keep climbing that ladder and getting to Chicago, where I hope you feel appreciated by everybody.
Oh yeah. First of all, thank you for just sympathizing. It's we're talking about sports. It's a fun job. Let's not lose sight of that, especially right now, to have a job in this situation. When a lot of people haven't been able to work, it's something I'm thankful for every day. And I think you guys know this. Before all of this happened, I was very thankful for the opportunities that I've had, because they've put me in a good position to succeed here, especially in Chicago. And, unfortunately, we get to the point where we tell ourselves that's the price we pay. But do guys have to pay that price? No. Are they criticized for their nose size or their voice or their hip size?
Right.
Or their figures? No.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I'm sorry, I'm not Barbie. I'm not going to be. There's lots of places on the internet for you to find hot women for free. But sports television isn't the place. So if you think that that's the same thing, you're going to be mistaken. If you're mad at me for it, I don't know what to tell you.
Leila,
our mistake, that's understandable.
Listeners know where to find those women too.
You'd be surprised.
You're preaching to the choir with our listeners.
It's funny though, because I'll see on Twitter sometimes, I'm like, where is this coming from? And then I'll look at the timeline and the dude posts to nothing but he replies to nothing but adult stars and video games.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bruh, I'm a real chick. I talk, I think. Sorry. But you know, to say that I'm impervious to that and that I don't listen when my job is to listen to people, that's that's not the case. I wish I could turn off switches, but you're listening no matter what.
Yeah.
Well, we have your back 100%, and we'll stop short. We probably won't kill somebody for you, but we'll definitely mess them up and like maybe spam their email. Like we can do that too.
You know
so
what?
We're real bad guys.
I have appreciated the support, and there was nothing I loved more than when all of this started. I would wake up, because I wake up late because I'm a degenerate. I would wake up to like 45 different Twitter notifications, and it was the group thread from the 108 tournament, and it was always really funny. So I really appreciated waking up to that, and I just want to say thank you. And that is a huge example of the support I have received. So thank you very much.
Good.
Well, we're happy to do that.
So
we're happy to fill up your notifications with insanity.
It's still, I mean, I'm serious. I would crack up, and I even think I said something because like I was like, I don't know about this, but I really love that I wake up and just giggle for like 5 minutes reading Twitter.
Yes.
That's what it's
We'll be ready for 2021. Like, we got to get somebody that can beat Dave. Dave has won 3 times in a row. He needs to get beat this year.
Can't allow
next
that
year.
again.
That was a tough draw. I must admit, I enjoyed looking at it from afar and not being a part of it and being impartial. But then once I was part of the bracket, to face off against my former internet fiance twice was emotionally.
I forgot about that.
Now, okay, we have to stop because Dave said this was all your idea. Was it your idea to become engaged?
First of all, I don't remember how it started the first time, but we were at a colleague's goodbye party, and somewhere along the way, and we both know Dan Hayes really well, who's now with the Athletic in Minnesota, and I know Dan from San Diego. I remember when Dan told me I had just arrived at the Padres and Dan was leaving, and I was like, oh, I've heard great things about Comcast Sportsnet. Small world. So Dan and I were talking, and somehow like something escalated, and by the end of the night, Dave and I were fake engaged.
Nice.
And I don't really know what happened there. And then we reprised the idea one night out with Shane was there and Herb was there at like Kaiser Tiger, and so then I posted my I always wear my grandmother's wedding band. And I put it on the other hand, and then Dave was like, she said yes. And then we got like a ton of replies, and we're like, oh no, what do we do? And he said, put your ring on the other finger, and he took a picture of it. So was that my idea?
Yeah, see?
You know what that is? That's the sharp marketing mind of a White Sox Dave right there. I sense it. You know?
Was it our idea to be dramatic with it on Twitter later?
Yes. I have a big man crush on White Sox Dave. So
yes, you do.
I would, if you guys got together and then maybe reproduced and had a baby, I would love that baby. Like that would be like a great sportscaster or something baby. It would just be, I don't know. I'd be so happy.
This is the quintessential My Sox summer where we have a great story, and then he's like, let me throw something insane on top of it.
But you know what the funny part is? It's like I felt that way about like I remember when I used to work in Austin too. I was at the NBC affiliate there, and so Mac Brown was the head coach at the time, and Sonia Richards ran track there, and Aaron Ross, who ended up playing for the Giants, played football there, and they got married. And we would joke that like Mac already had a verbal commitment from their child. But I just never thought that would come back around in 108 form. But here we are in 2020.
It's going to be a great baby. It's going to have a great blog. It's going to be good. A good Twitter handle, a lot of brand rep. So it's going to be good.
Are we engaged in this dystopian future or no?
No, you're just married. You're just married at that point.
Okay.
I'm going to guess that 15 minutes after we post this video and someone watches this, there will be a Twitter account for that baby.
Yes, I agree.
That's 100% possible.
If you only knew how truly funny this was at the time, and that is not a knock on Dave, but more so my social life, that would be even funnier. But props to you.
Okay, so this is three things. That was the first thing where we just kind of shoot the breeze. Second thing, Leila, you brought a question for the group. What is it?
Yeah, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but you know, part of the flip side to going to games for free is you don't get to have like cool fan moments anymore. And you guys are one of the best fan groups there is. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, what's been your either favorite or most random or just an interesting like fan moment story from like either the 108 or like meeting somebody, you know, just something that where you really like, I think you know what I'm trying to say. There's a huge community there, and I enjoyed it just meeting you guys at SoxFest. So I wanted to see what's been good moments like that for you.
Ooh,
wow,
are you ready?
There's a lot.
I've got one that's kind of a fun moment. I don't think it's not like meeting people necessarily, although it was kind of funny because 108 is often crowded with our people. Let's just say a lot of people want to come and sit near us or whatever. And I think this was 2 years ago, and My Sox Summer had a nice group of people coming out. It was for like his birthday celebration. It wasn't actually his birthday.
40th.
And then and we always roll in late, and so we'd come in there in the second inning, and then Treasy and I are sitting up closer in 108 than he is. And Yomer Sanchez comes to the plate, and he smacks the ball, and it's like looking like it's going to go out. It goes out. It goes into the area that was the little picnic table area that was kind of right in front of the 108. It hits
the patio,
bounces,
the bullpen patio,
like the little bullpen patio area, but the upper part, it bounces up into the air. And yours truly, the beef loaf, I go up and grab a rebound like Charles Barkley, and I snare a home run ball when we have like 40 people in the section. And I'm showing it off, and I'm flexing like I'm a wrestler or something. To me, there was nothing better. I wasn't expecting to catch a home run ball that day, and nor have I ever caught another ball since then or before it. But just so happened when My Sox Summer had his birthday celebration, and we got a bunch of people down in the section, home run ball comes. And now I think that I really got up off the ground and made an athletic play. And Teresa's like, you look so incredibly fat trying to catch that home run.
Well, you know, because I was in front of you when it happened. And so like I've got like the upward look at a generously proportioned man. And so and that's not a great angle for you. And so like when you got the little jump, the shirt went up a little bit, you know, like there was a lot going on other than the home run catch, and that affected it. But you looked great. If in hindsight, remembering it, it's more like Fabio catching that ball than you. The hair flowing beautifully. It was excellent.
Was Chariots of Fire playing in the background?
Yes,
of course.
Actually, they piped that in over the top, and then my hair was flowing, and then there was a big fireball behind me after I caught it.
But hey, man, all eyes are on you. That's your moment. You know what? You came through.
That's right.
I'm gonna post the pic of it tomorrow. Just like we can throw it up there so everybody can see it. Oh yeah, no, I just looked through them. Yeah, I was looking through pictures for some reason, and that's definitely one that I've saved because you're just like, oh, like all excited.
It's so stupid. What a stupid face I was making too. It's ridiculous.
Dude,
where's the ball now? Where is it?
I still have it. It's down here somewhere. I don't want to look for it right now because I just moved all the baseballs. I think they're in my bar over here, but I'm not going to go fetch it right now because I could be gone for a little while.
Oh Jesus! It's like you have a bunch of memorabilia down there. You have like 6 bobbleheads and like 3 balls. Jesus Christ!
You need to go look for.
While he's going,
this is like Chuck. Go ahead, My Sox Summer.
Yeah, this is like Chuck. Teresa, you go next.
Okay.
Chuck goes, hey, I took a picture in the 108. He's like, hold on, let me look through it from my phone. Like, Chuck, we're recording a show right now.
Upside down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Thank you for that representation.
You're welcome.
So
Teresa, what do you got?
For me, it was so we like with work. A lot of people know that I'm a Sox fan because I wear Sox stuff like every day. But so they were talking about going to a baseball game. We had some friends in from some like teammates from Slovakia that work with us, and they were in town, and so we were kind of like, I was like, well, get tickets in my section. You could always get tickets in section 108, and they're cheap, and just come sit with me and my buddies. And so they got, I don't know, guys, like 15, 20 people that were sitting there, and it's obviously a great time, but I don't think they had any idea about the 108 or anything like that, that they just knew that's where my seats were. And throughout the game, people are coming up and being like, hey, are you Chirizi E? And like shaking my hand. And then like a few people bought me a beer and stuff. And like these guys from Slovakia were like, what the hell is happening? Like, why are guys giving you beers and like shaking your hand? What is happening? And that for me, that was like, it wasn't like some like great moment, but it just kind of like, to me, it was like a little bit legitimized what we were doing, where it was like, yeah, I mean, like people come and talk to us. That's just how every game kind of is. And people were just like, that's not normal. That's not how like this works, or like how games go. Like, I don't know what's going on here. And to me, that was a great moment of just like, oh yeah, well, this is actually a thing that people care about, and like people think about the 108, and they want to meet us. And it still blows my mind. Like it's shocking. Like it's shocking to me talking to you right now. And just like,
right.
Like,
exactly.
And like whenever someone's like, when comes down to the section and they're like, I just had to meet you guys, it's still surprising to me, and I'm still like overjoyed with it. So like every time to me, it's cool. But in this particular case, it was just like people were so confounded by it that I just kind of loved it.
Was it like old school when he goes on the date with
Yes, it was.
Pompeo, and all the guys come up to him and they're like, the Godfather, can you get me in?
It was very much like that.
Very similar. Or like when the guy in Coming to America, like who's working the bathroom at the Garden, comes up and goes, take my picture. It's like, why does he want to take a picture? It's like that's like how my friends are a lot. They're just like, what is this? Because they don't know. Like, I don't promote this on my personal Facebook page. So
what?
And then
really?
No, not very much. Like a little bit here and there, not very much. But the like, and none of our friends are on Twitter. Huh?
It's like an alter ego for you or something?
Kind of. It's funny because we'll get in like I have so many of these moments. I'm like what, as Brian Billick is referred to as the face of the 108. Like I am the guy that's usually out in the streets and like going to SoxFest, doing that kind of stuff.
On our promo.
So, right. And then that's
Exactly.
like, that's been kind of my thing so far. And I've always told these guys, I'm like, you need to go to these events because you don't understand, like there's a groundswell. And like I'm walking down the hall, like running to go get like Michael Kopech's autograph or something, and people are like, 108, or like, hey, like slow down, fatty, you're gonna sweat, or like just whatever. Like I get a lot of crap, but like so.
You know exactly what it's like for me then.
Pretty much, but I'm not doing it for fun. I mean, I'm not doing it as a job. It's a fun thing, but then it's like I don't know. SoxFest this year for me was really good because I didn't focus on getting autographs. I wanted to like check it out. Usually I'm carrying around a gym bag with a bunch of bobbleheads and stuff to get autographed, and it becomes like a job. And by Sunday, I'm like, bleh, like done, especially because we do this stuff on Friday nights, and I'm like usually 100% hungover on Saturday because of what we did on Friday, and then I have to like stand in line with people.
I love buying you shots on Friday night, just knowing what's going to happen.
The best thing ever.
So replace autographs with interviews and people yelling at you,
right,
saying derogatory comments, and there you go.
There you go.
Fans are really awesome at SoxFest. They were.
It's fun.
It's so nice to meet you guys. I don't know about you, but that's just one of those things where like I really appreciate it now. I said that to some fan on a Facebook page who I'd met there. And I said, like, thank goodness we got to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Because when are we going to get to do it again? Who knows?
I know. And that's what really concerns me is like, we have to really appreciate those times. And I really did. Like, it was so nice to meet you guys and everybody else. And goodness knows when we get to do all that again.
Right. And like Mr. Hand sent us a message last night with him on Beer Money, and I'm watching him take cash from this person and then shake their hand, and I'm like, oh my God, that just seems so weird. It's like sanitize. You got to go sanitize right now. But so my fan moments, I got a bunch, but like one of my favorite ones is we're in Milwaukee, and it's at the start of the blog where we had done we had jinxed Tyler Saladino, and he'd had a good year the year before, and then he started doing this thing with us with this Southside Stashman. He said whoever grows the best stash wins a opening day ticket. The 108 guys are going to vote on it, blah blah blah. So we're doing this with him, and we drive up to Milwaukee, and I'm with my wife, who the running joke is that my wife doesn't even know that I do this. Like she's, especially then, she was like, we've been working on this blog for like 2 years. And she's like, what are you doing when you go downstairs? Like, why are we not watching The Challenge on MTV right now? What are you writing about? Or whatever. So we're in Milwaukee. We're getting out. We have my first daughter, and we're getting out of the car, and I have my 108 shirt on, and I have a big old mustache and like crazy hair, and some guy walks by and he's like, oh, section 108, my sex summer, what's up? And my wife just like whips around as fast as she possibly can, and she goes, oh my God, what's going on? And I was like, yeah, it's a thing. It's like a legit thing. Like, people kind of know who I am, and through this whole thing. So that was like the first time it happened. And of course, I think our gotcha, you kind of made it moment was that I reached out. These guys both poo-pooed me, and I reached out to Brooks Boyer from the Sox and was like, hey, come on our podcast. And he's like, not only yes will I do it, but please come to the park, and we'll do it in the suite. And I'll feed you, get you real fat, and I'll give you all the drinks that you want, and then we'll shoot the shit. And that was like, and then of course my wife was totally involved in that. She's like, oh, free suite, free food. She's like, I can get a babysitter and everything. Yeah, we'll be fine. So we got to go to, that was my biggest moment. Like, I just was like, this is, and this is right there too, Leila. And I'm not kidding. Like, it's getting the respect, I feel like, from industry professionals to like at least go, come on your show, like you and Chuck Triluk, coming on our show, our little shit show, and like just saying, hey, like let's engage with these guys. And it's a really fun, it's a fun thing, and I like it. And it's just a good, like, if like a lot of feel good vibes with this whole thing. So
well, I get it, because I started calling into the Dallas Cowboys post-game show on the radio.
Right, yeah.
And, like, it was the same thing. If Mark Oristano, the host, then hadn't reached out to me, like, I don't know where I'd be. I recorded it on cassette and submitted it for a scholarship. But it's, I think it's awesome what you guys do. I found out about the 108 from Daniel Polka.
Yeah, I mean,
that's where I found out about you guys.
Yes. He's the best. Like he's just such a nice guy.
A professional athlete is who got a lot of attention on MLB Network his rookie season was your PR.
Yes, and
that to me is pretty legit.
And it was the best thing about that, Leila, was that was all like organic. We noticed, somebody had said to us, hey, do you know Daniel Polka was watching your Sunday Soak, right? And we were like exclusively like on Facebook, and then I think through the Periscope. Yeah, and like so he was watching, and we never said anything about it. And then when our Canadian friend Jeff the Giant pops up and he asked him about it. And then after that, like it just kind of took off. The whole 108 thing took off.
Yeah, so Jeff was yelling to him, and he went down to a game in Seattle. And so Daniel's out in right field, I think, at the time. And Jeff is just in the stands, and he's screaming 108 at him. And and then when we were talking to Polka, I forgot what if it was just online or if it was person or what, but he was like, dude, some guy in Seattle was yelling about 108. He's like, what are you guys doing? And that's kind of like where it really started to snowball. But he was just so awesome to us. And then his family was like very, very nice to us, and like with his brothers reached out.
His brother Matt is awesome.
And
He's a great guy.
I mean, they're just like, they live and die with that guy's career. They just love like what he's doing, and they support him so much. It's like, it's awesome. It makes you really root for him. And I get, he didn't have great seasons, and the things went sour, but like, I'm gonna always root for that dude because he's just a really good person, and his family's great. And I will die on that hill as much as I died on the James Shields hill. So
we're not the only one. For the record, you were not the only one.
I'm the only one that people give autographed James Shields balls to because they think it's funny.
What's your fan moment?
Look at my attitude and commentary enough, you will know that I lament a lot of trades. But that one, I think we all know was the one White Sox Dave broke, first of all. And I made sure to give credit on NBC Sports Chicago, then CSN Chicago at the time. But I'm with you on that one. I got why they needed to make that move. And for the record, I don't know that anybody in Major League Baseball, especially after last season, racks up the amount of innings that he did his last season with the White Sox. No. You do not see that anymore.
Yeah.
You just don't. So
he really held the line. Yeah, he did a good job that last year, just filling up innings for sure.
For the need that they had, I get it. And like, I covered the Astros rebuild, of course. And at the time in that draft, even with Chris Bryant, I still thought that like Mark Appel was a no-brainer. He got drafted fourth by Pittsburgh the year before. He was with Stanford, College World Series pedigree. And I'm like, this dude is going to be the guy. And then it just, it falls apart sometimes. So I've thought about a lot of things over this time. That James Shields trade, I still understand why it happened and what happened.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to take risks. You got to take risks.
It wasn't a failure.
I don't.
Like, listen, there have been some trades, and there was one involving the White Sox, and I think it's pretty well publicized. I grew up a Texas Rangers fan. But the John Danks trade about made me throw things through the wall. I'm like, they gave him up for who? Like, what was this? Like, John Daniels had to do a lot. I mean, overprove himself, going to the World Series. But I covered Jordan Danks at Texas. And I yelled at Jordan about it. I'm like, it's not like your brothers, like at the time John was pitching out of his mind. And I'm like, it's not like John's terrible on the mound right now. I'm like, they could use that guy. He's like, he's pitching out of his mind. I'm like, I know. The White Sox have definitely been on the side of trades, as we all know, especially recently, where they've come out pretty well. But not to totally take this podcast off a cliff, but
no,
this
is what it's for.
I am with you.
Who knew we'd get Leila on here and she's a James Shields truther? Just like Teresa. I didn't realize. I had no clue.
I'm just an appreciator. I'm appreciator of the service he gave to this.
I don't think she'll quite back the Teresa AL Cy Young meme, but I think she'll support that it was a trade worth the risk.
And I appreciated his demeanor in the clubhouse, for the same reason you guys appreciate Polka, who I think is down to earth and awesome. But and a great interview. It was really fun to talk to at any time. But James was I just enjoyed talking to him. It was clear like he was like a very grown man about everything, almost like a politician in ways, and not in like not in bad ways, but in the ways that like everybody, you talk to them about what's going on. Like he asked me how I liked San Diego, and I was there before they moved the fences in. That's another issue that I think played against Shields. I didn't know I'd be defending him this much in this conversation.
Right.
But you know what I'm trying to say. Like when somebody makes it easier for you to do your job, and you see the value that they bring to a team like that, I'm not going to knock it.
I can't wait to write up I do like the little YouTube write up in there to say what this was about. I'm just going to say we talked all about James Shields. Just like 40 minutes about James Shields. And I'm going to be so proud of it.
All's well that ends well, as far as I'm concerned.
So, Leila, you can answer your own question, too. What was your fan moment?
Okay, so I'm going to take you back to an earlier, simpler time. 2012, speaking of San Diego, where I was a rookie sideline reporter for Fox Sports San Diego covering the Padres, sharing a row on the plane, by the way, with Andy Mazer. How do you like that?
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah, Andy
Small
Mazer and I,
world.
he was my plane buddy. We always had the same row on the plane together. I never thought I'd end up working with him again. And you know how excited I was that he got the gig he got this year.
Yeah.
But I'm in San Diego, and I was green as a field reporter. I was not on the air every day in Austin. I mostly carried a camera on my shoulder, like one of the big 30-pound TV cameras. And, you know, I came from a place of knowing high school football and covering college football. And those are my main sports, baseball, some of course, but different job, right? And I was in local news. So there was a lot of adjustment there. And so one of my producers at the time was like, oh, yeah? I'm going to make you ask Ozzie Guillen a question in his daily availability in Miami. And I'm like, oh, see what happens. I'm like, oh no, I got to interview Ozzie. They just traded Logan Morrison. Who knows what kind of mood he's going to be in. And you know, this is the year that they opened that ballpark in Miami. They had that all-star roster. Burley was a part of that, if you'll recall.
Yep.
And you started to see the fissures start to appear when the Logan Morrison trade went down. So I want to say it was like a few days after that had happened. So I'm like, oh crap, I got to interview Ozzie. And you don't know what's going to happen. So I like get to the media scrum. I'm like standing in the back. And then at some point I'm like, Ozzie, you're no stranger to change. Like what happened when you guys traded Lomo? What went on there? And so he's like, yeah, man, I'm not a stranger to change. And then he went on and I was like, whew. Like, mission one accomplished of many that day. So then so here I am like working with Ozzie Guillen, right? Not just working with, like, I never thought that this would happen. And it's not just working with Ozzie, but it's knowing his whole family. And I've talked about that a lot. But I had to finally tell Ozzie midway through the first season of Baseball Night in Chicago. And I'm like, so I got sent to talk to you as a form of hazing. And he's like, what? So then he like, there was an episode where he brought it up. And he was like, she was afraid to talk to me. And I'm like, that's not how this went down.
He's supposed to let you play it cool. He's not supposed to bring that back up later on.
No. First of all, Ozzie is a manager, whether he is in our clubhouse, so to speak, at work, or whether he is, you know, in his element at the ballpark. He is always going to be that guy. And I knew that I was going to get held accountable. So I was like, all right, confession time. But it was one of those moments where you're like, is this really happening? I'm working with the guy who I got sent to talk to as a hazing measure. It wasn't even hazing. He provided a good answer, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, when you started telling the story, I thought you were going to say, like, you asked him a fairly benign question and he like launched into like a profanity-laced tirade. Like that's where I was worried the story was going. And I was like, oh wait, what did Ozzie say?
Profanity doesn't bother me because that at least means that you're familiar, right? Like that means that you've done something right sometimes. But this was just, for me, it was like, can I get the words out of my mouth? The only other time that happened with me on that level was interviewing Greg Popovich. Like I knew I had to talk to him when I was the courtside reporter for the Rockets. And I'm one of those people where I have to think about simplifying my vocabulary, but not for some cool reason, like I'm smart, but just because of a klutzy, awkward reason. So I asked Popovich one time about their team's road record, and I think I ended it with the phrase, how do you control for that variable? What? Like, what? And to his credit, he actually answered it in a pretty thoughtful way, but I'm like, how do you control for the variable? Like, what? Like, I get paid for this? God. So, yeah, that's, these things happen. I thought I was going to say something like that, and then Ozzie was going to be like, what did you just say? And I'm like, I don't know.
See, I feel like Pop would worry me more than Ozzie because he's the kind of guy that, like, if he doesn't like your question, he'll just give you, like, a one-word answer and then just walk away. And I think that's like way worse to me than someone just going nuts about something.
I think with Pop, the key was there was a lot of times where people would ask him leading questions. And so if you give somebody the floor, they teach us not to ask yes or no questions. And most times that makes sense. But sometimes you have to, because you don't necessarily know what they're thinking. Right. You have to ask to get a yes or no so you can ask the next question. But he was okay. He was benevolent that day.
Well, that was what I expected. I drink a lot of Goose Island, so I had to step out there for a minute and go use the facilities. I was sitting here debating. I'm like, I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable, and I don't want to screw this all up. And I was debating, should I just let it go and just sit in it for the rest of the night? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. No. I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk right over to the bathroom and just go right go do my business. So I did that.
And you know what? That is A-okay. And you know what I was happy to see in our broadcast today? We showed the Goose Island goose.
Yes.
We got the goose cutaway in. I was like, oh, goose.
Now, Jason's trying to name it Gary or something. That's not going to fly. We got to get a better name for it. He's kind of screwing it up. We got to crowdsource a name. We can't go with that.
I guess we can't call him Gray. That kind of defeats the point.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
I think possibly different distributors. They might.
What if we called him Maverick? Would that be too obvious?
Oh, yes.
Only the real ones know that.
I kind of like that.
If only if he can play volleyball.
Ooh,
now, so 3 things. This is the last thing, and it's our question. And I thought about this, and I had other things, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make this easy. I'm going to make it sports related. But I think it was initially supposed to just be about whatever you want it to be, but I changed it to sports. And it was, if you could change the outcome of any sporting event in history, what team would you choose, and what would you change?
Oh, now, you guys know the answer to this, right?
Well, for you?
For me? All right.
No.
Now listen, when I was in Philly, I did not talk about being from Dallas because they'll egg you there.
Yeah.
I got outed on message boards, and I kind of liked it because I'm like, that's right. You're sleeping with the enemy. And in Philly,
they don't even know.
Philly was really awesome, by the way. I would just like to say that. They spoke to my sensibilities, so to speak.
Nice.
I liked it there. But I didn't talk about it as much, but I can talk about it now because it still irks me to this very day. If there was any moment I could change, or Game 6, the 2011 World Series, really? Do I even need to say anymore?
Don't.
I did vomit that night. I just want you all to know. I had a Rangers foam finger when I was graduating high school because we hold up the number 1 when we sang the alma mater. I snuck it in under my gown, broke it out at the end of graduation. And I never thought I would see the day. James Shields was a part of that run too, by the way. I never thought I would see the day where they made it to the World Series, not once, but twice. And then I remember being with my friend and we were eating tacos in Austin because what else do you do? And I'm like, holy smokes, the Rangers are going to win the World Series. And all my friends are texting. We're all trying to figure out where to meet up to celebrate. And then it never happened. And perhaps what's worse is the next year, I'm watching the Cardinals play the Nats in a wild card game. And then the Cardinals about to come back. And I'm screaming at the television in a hotel in New Orleans because I'm supposed to sideline report the SMU Tulane game the next day for college football. Screaming, no, 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 no. Guys, I don't know what I would have done if the Rangers had won the World Series. I don't know what I would have done. The Mavericks gave me a college scholarship in my first internship at their radio network. And they won, and that was huge. That was very cathartic. But
yeah,
the Rangers, man, nobody was the same after that. And then a few years later, in 2015, I was hosting the Strike Zone channel for MLB Network. And I don't even know that I could say this. Okay, so there was an innocuous game. It was between Seattle and Detroit. And Nelson Cruz was facing Neftali Feliz with the bases loaded. And I was seething. And I'm having to announce this moment on air on MLB Network. The national network that I've wanted to work for. This is my dream, right? And it's my nightmare at the same time. And I'm like, what? I'm like, Nefty's gonna blow this. I'm like, I just know. And then he did. Like, I couldn't even handle that moment, and it was 2015, and neither one of them were playing for the Rangers. And I'm like, winning situation, and the bases are loaded for Neftali Feliz, and he's facing Nelson Cruz. So yeah, you can probably hear the panic in my voice, but that. I wonder what my heart rate is at right now. I'm gonna check.
I mean, there's definitely still rage, and I love it.
That was one of those ones where I'm watching it. I've got no interest, but I'm just watching the World Series, and I just felt so fucking bad for Nelson Cruz. Like, I just felt like, should he still be out there in this inning? Like, he's a hitter guy. Should he be out there in right field right now? Like, it made me sad for him. I was like,
92 beats a That's how much stress is getting. And I work out every day.
So that's like a wrestling beat for us. So no big deal.
That's more extra calm right there.
You know, but it's also the reason I still want the double switch in the National League. Because I'm like, no. Not after Ron Washington in the World Series. And then intentionally walking. Who did he intentionally walk to get to Lance Berkman, who just crushed it? I can't, guys.
Hey, Leila, just a sidebar here before we get our answers. Who do you credit for your love of sports? Like, where does this come from?
The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, but who got you into it? Or you just were just watching it on TV?
So that's it. My dad came here from Iran, and he was not a huge sports fan. And my grandfather always watched, but like you grew up loving football because everybody did. So they were winning Super Bowls at the time, and it's something I caught on to, and I wrote for my high school paper, and just kind of went from there.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to know. I was just like, you definitely have the passion. You're definitely a sports fan. So it's like, well, where does this come from? I was just genuinely interested. I think that, and then that's great. That's 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
Treasy, Loaf.
So I could go. This is fairly easy for me. I would say the 2006 Bears, the Super Bowl that should have happened, and I just remember Devin Hester returning that opening kick. And Beef, we were jumping around.
It was crazy.
I may have at the end of it said, "You did just bet me 20-1 that he'd return that, and so give me some money." But
I did.
After that, and then I still remember, shortly after that, there's the Thomas Jones run where he just takes off, and I really, really thought the Bears were going to win that game. I had my doubts going in, because I didn't think they were holding up as well as they should have been through the playoffs. But in that little brief moment of time, I was like, oh, we've got this. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. And it's coming up right after a Sox World Series. They're not far apart. Mm-hmm. And so it was just this great time in Chicago sports, or at least the Chicago sports I care about. And then Peyton Manning ruined it all. And everything. To the point where I don't even really care for the thing that he did with with George Wendt and I forget who the other guy is. Where they baptized him in the Aju, and he came out and he had a mustache on and a Bears hat.
Oh yeah. The Bears guys. Yeah.
I pretend to laugh at that. I pretend to enjoy that. I don't, because I know what he ruined for me. And so I can't get I'm oh, hey, there's that thing. Oh man, that is funny. That is really good. And it just tears me apart inside because I know what he did to my 2006 Bears. So yeah, that game, if I could flip that some way, like if Lovie Smith could have like thought that maybe the Colts would do something different in the second half and maybe he should adjust for that, like that's my change that I would put in there to like make them win. But yeah, that's it.
You know, Lovey, by the way, was part of one of the greatest Texas high school football teams of all time.
Really?
Yeah, and
I
that's
did not
saying
know that.
something, you know.
Yeah,
really. That's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tragic situation that happened to one of his teammates, David Overstreet. But if you want some reading, Lovey was part of one of what they consider in history, and that's a long, big history. It was one of the greatest of all time.
I'll have to check that out because I am a Lovey fan.
I like Lovey. Yeah.
That game, though, I was not too big of a Lovey fan.
Sometimes, gentlemen, we make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings.
True.
Robbie Gould falls into that category.
Oh.
From an outside observation standpoint, but yes. Sorry about the sirens, by the way. I don't know what's happening.
Oh,
now.
you're fine.
That's fine.
We all live in the city. It's no problem.
I'm just happy they're not fireworks, frankly.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were going to maybe bring up the Todd Collins game. You know, have you ever heard Spice Adams go off on that?
Yes. It's
the best bit ever.
Spice is amazing, by the way.
Spice says Todd is 50, and at the end of the game, Spice says Todd is 217. So what is it for the rest of you guys? Now I'm very curious.
Give me this is maybe a little esoteric, but give me 1994 Madison Square Garden. Bulls Knicks.
Oh man, you're ripping
Hubert
my heart
Davis
out.
phantom foul bullshit where Scottie Pippen so Jordan retires and Scottie takes the team and they win 50 games. And this is where Scottie's really showing where he became one of the top 50 players when they voted on the top 50 players. And I thought the Bulls were going to run to the finals again. And I thought they should have beat that Knicks team. And that fucking bullshit phantom foul loses the game and series for them. So if I could have that switched out of there, give it to me. And you've got Scottie Pippen in the finals. And then you've got a lot of people really rethinking their – and I love Jordan, and I'll take Jordan over LeBron all day. But there's just one more nugget in there to have people rethinking the Jordan versus LeBron shit. If Pippen took the Bulls to the finals without Jordan – that would have been some shit right there. So really, give me that thing back.
I'm surprised they didn't talk more about that on The Last Dance, aren't you?
They didn't even mention it.
I was shocked by that.
They acted like that team didn't have a chance.
It was a very good team. Like,
whose production company is making this documentary? who are you getting unprecedented access with? Like, the guy's not like, hey, make it look like those guys were pretty good too. Okay. Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Houston, they're just like, there was no call.
Right.
We're like, yeah.
Now, speaking of that, though, I saw an interview. I mean, it was on Last Dance, but I'd seen some other stuff, too, prior to that the Rockets were just sort of like, they felt bad they never got to the finals because they feel like they would have whooped the Bulls' ass had they gotten to the finals. And I don't disagree because who the hell was going to guard Olajuwon on the Bulls?
Yeah.
They weren't going to handle him. Like, they had no chance against him.
Houston fans do not they won those titles back to back, you know, but they don't like the whole. There's a lot of people, especially from Dallas, who were like, you only got those titles because Jordan was out of the league. Mm-hmm. And then, but you know, they of course take those very seriously. And Hakeem was the man. Hakeem was, I mean,
really good.
Such a stud.
Let's not forget who got drafted first overall that year.
That's true. Yeah. And it was him, and he was a star the entire way.
But I was shocked that The Last Dance didn't bring that up. I really was.
Now, mine obviously is very easy too. If it like for a lot of people's, if they've watched a lot of this stuff, is like 2005 Fighting Illini team. I mean, it's just the easiest pick for me. That was my 1989 Illinois Flying Illini goes all the way to the Final Four, loses. 2005 goes almost the entire season undefeated, loses one game to Ohio State, and then has that magnificent run. And I guess it's somewhat like it's personal. I would love to see. That's the one thing I haven't seen yet. I have not seen my basketball team win a national championship. I would love to see that. And that is the most elusive championship, I think, in like all of sports. I think it's a hard one to get. Like, you just don't get it very often. And like, we were so close. And to even have like, you just go out and just lay the biggest egg, you know, and still be in the game. That Illini team was still in the game. And they were just such great guys, and just everything about it. Like, that would be the one thing. I just want to see. I would love to see a national championship for Illinois basketball before my time is done here. That's all I want to see. So I love the Sox, but I got to see 2005. You know, they could do it again, but yeah, that's my one thing. That's my boogie.
That was a fun Illini team, and they did not play a good game, but they stayed in that game.
No.
Like there were points in the second half where you thought they could still win this game, but they just couldn't quite. Sean May was too much, baby.
Sean May
was too much.
Sean May was basically Jesus Christ in that game. He walked on water, and it never got called for a foul the entire time. And James Augustine was like, "Oh, I mean,
yep.
What are you gonna do?"
It's the refs.
It's the refs. It's always the refs.
I'm not saying it's the refs. I'm just saying it's just like it was just a bad time to have, you know, this little baloney ACC refs out there calling these ticky-tack fouls when in the Big Ten you can just smash a guy's brains in and it's not even a foul. So like, yeah, no, that's just how it goes. So, but yes, so that would be my call.
Yeah.
Leila, now I have one more question for you. This is not part of three things. You've been privy to Gatorade Bass. Now you are privy to doing three things. Which one is worse?
I mean, this didn't leave me cold and tinted blue, so I would have to say the Gatorade bath was worse.
Not yet.
All right, yes, we're better than a cold Gatorade bath.
That happens like 30 minutes after three things. So just wait, be careful. You know, just be cautious about it.
Somebody randomly comes out of nowhere with a
Leila, thank you very much for like doing this. And I know you said at SoxFest that you would do a podcast. We are 100% holding you to that because I think we can mix it up for close to 3 hours, and we still wouldn't even scratch the surface on anything we could talk about. Plus, we'll make you drink, so it'll be really fun.
This was a blast. This was great.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys doing this.
Listen, we appreciate you doing this. So we appreciate it. We will talk to you soon. We'll send you a mask. I'll shoot you a DM. We got it. We got everything going on. So this is great. Thank you for doing this, and it was a great night. It was a great spike of the football on the night. So
I love it. Yeah, I still have my koozie. Like,
yes,
I love that koozie. No, I'm serious. Like,
I'm out there.
I think about SoxFest. I just like, I don't know when we get to do that again, and I really appreciate it. You know, for stuff
I'm
like
sorry
that
your last SoxFest experience has to include me in some form of fashion. Like, that's probably not the best thing. But yeah, no, that's cool.
Oh, it was awesome. It was so great to meet you guys and to meet everybody. I really enjoyed it. And so it's so nice to see you all again and to know that you're well too. That's good.
We're doing all right so
So
far.
yeah.
Leila, thank you very much. And please say hi to McLovin for us.
yes.
I'll tell him what time it is. Happy season, guys, next week. Are you excited?
Oh, I can't wait.
Absolutely.
I cannot
yes.
wait.
Thrilled.
I cannot wait.
Oh, that makes me happy.
We
All
will.
right.
I think we'll have a
Celebrate next
two-man Sunday soak that weekend. So we'll be out and as much as we can be in the public for this.
Well, send do me a favor and send pictures and tag us too, because I know we want to see the fans as much as we can in some way, shape, or form. So
Ooh, this is a lot of fan. You'll
Definitely
see.
want to see us in a hot tub.
Hey, quarantine bodies are made during quarantine. Okay, I'm right there with you.
Leila, thanks so much. We'll talk to you
Leila.
soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.